Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am Frank, the third most popular candidate, your congressman, the only person you ever need to listen to. And along with me...
What's up, Planet Earth? Charlie.
All right, with our new trigger. Look at all our stuff working all fancy. Happy learned to putt. Well, we're back. Funny enough, this isn't even something I was going to talk about, but we opened up last time talking about how many indictments had occurred since we last spoke. And since we spoke last, there's been new indictments for Trump. And so that's fourth, I think. Fourth set. This one's Atlanta. So this one is a state one. So a president couldn't pardon a conviction for this one. So if he, and they say that they're actually going to make him take a mugshot, which is kind of silly, but you know that's going to be huge. That's going to be on T-shirts. That's going to be like both people that love Trump and hate Trump are going to get a Trump mugshot shirt. You know, you should figure out if you can trademark it somehow. But yeah, this one is about the whole calling the Secretary of State or whatever. It's like, find those votes, you know? And so they hit him with RICO charges. Yeah, so organized crime. And so it's not just Trump, it's like 19 other people, including his attorneys and like Mark Meadows, who was like his chief of staff or something like that, who's been around for a while. And so that guy's like, shouldn't this be a federal case since like we were all over the country? Like not really about Georgia. So we'll see. They don't want it to move to like federal because then it'll get a different venue and all that. Atlanta is nice and blue. And so they would like to keep it there. But yeah, they're saying, I don't think this case has much to it because kind of like which one of these? The DC one? I think the DC one. Yeah. It's kind of, in order for it to stick, you have to prove that Trump thought he lost the election and then conspired to steal it, as opposed to what he says every single day, that he got cheated, he won, all this stuff happened. I mean, to have your whole case resting on proving that Donald Trump thought he lost and decided to steal it. That's not a good place to be. And once again, this is another prosecutor who like ran on, I'm going to get Trump, And so it's like, okay, I mean, you're really not supposed to like pick the criminal and then later assign the crime. That's kind of the opposite. I saw something where, I was like, on average, U.S. citizens do something like 3 to 4 felonies like a week or a day or something like that. And it's just like, there's so many laws out there. Sometimes you just oopsie doopsie, like often, I guess. And so like, really, if anybody was just like, I'm getting Charlie, they're going to get you. They'll figure it out. But yeah, so organized crime, maybe a mugshot. They even say like they're going to try to deny him bail as a, like it's been a thought where they go, well, if he gets out, he might try to intimidate witnesses and or jurors or anything else. He might try to manipulate stuff. So it's just like, keep him in jail. It's like, right. It's like, the point of a mugshot is because you go, oh, I arrested, John Smith over there. Like, well, who the hell's John Smith? Like, no, I got a picture of him. So if he tries to get away, we got this picture, profile, head on. Now we can find him. Everybody knows what Donald Trump looks like. Like, come on. It's like, just pull up anything. He's been around for so long. And on TV, everyone knows what he looks like. Mugshot's just theater. And, like, to deny him bail because, I don't know, he'll go on Truth Social and say something. Like, that seems silly to me. Did you even notice, or did it just blur into, like, all the indictments blur together?
Yeah. I mean, between him and more Hunter Biden stuff, Donald Trump gets indicted, Hunter Biden's cases get thrown out. I have no idea what's going on right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'll start that direction. So it's the land of pseudonyms. It's kind of a bit of a theme today. One of the things that came out is, I guess, old Joe Biden has a couple of pseudonyms he was using. Did you see this?
No, I did not.
Well, so let me pull up the names here because I can't remember them.
I'm excited.
Well, there's three of them. Robin Ware, because Joseph Robinette Biden is his name. Robinette, yep. Which, by the way,
That is his middle name.
Robinette. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.
Okay.
If you happen to read my book, A Promised Lad, you would know that. Bill Hansen. So Robin Ware, Robert L. Peters, and J.R.B. Ware. I don't know what Ware is, but I know Robin's probably from Robinette. Which the Robinette side of the family there's historical documents. They were slave owners. So, old Joe Biden owning slaves. I'm not going to say the horrible things I just popped in my head that I thought would be funny, but that's okay. But yeah, so the interesting thing about it is not that he's got the pseudonyms and he's got Gmail accounts, and there was one like pci.gov, which doesn't seem to exist. Yeah, robert.l.peters at pci.gov. So he has an aide, Joe Biden's got an aide named John Flynn, and so they would send his daily schedule to Robert L. Peters at PCI.gov at least 10 times in this one time frame and would copy Hunter Biden on it. So it's like, you're sending the vice president's daily schedule to a pseudonym account instead of like the vice president's account. And you're copying Hunter, a private citizen. And let's see. Copying.
And crackhead.
Crackhead, of course, yes. Sorry, you're right. And I mean, top flight hooker monger. That guy knows how to find some hookers. That's true. But there was even a note about 8:45 a.m. prep for 9 a.m. phone call with President Poroshenko. That was the president of Ukraine. So then you go, why was Hunter Biden, private crackhead, copied that Joe Biden was going to have a conversation with the president of Ukraine? Especially when it's right around that time where he got that guy to fire the investigator investigating Burisma and Hunter Biden. But Joe and Hunter, they never talked about business. He didn't know. That's changed too. Like that was his thing. We never we never discussed business. I know he was doing business. I'm proud of him, but we just didn't talk about it. Then he goes, we've always told you that Joe Biden was never in business with his son. It's like, that's not what you always told us. He said they never discussed business. And we've changed that. But yeah, so they got this whole time where Joe Biden's in charge of Ukraine. He's keeping his son totally tied to it, using Gmail accounts and whatever PCI.gov is. It's weird because I was like, I don't know what agency that would be. And I tried to pull it up on my phone. It was just website not found. And typically to be a .gov, you have to be a government agency. But I imagine if you're a vice president or a senator or something, it's pretty easy to say, I want this domain, Yeah, I don't know exactly. But what I do know is if it goes to your Senate email or your vice president email, well, that has to be preserved for official record, But say you have an email server in your bathroom, or you set up a nice Gmail account, Robert L. Peters. Those, no one even knows about those. That's not official. That's personal. And, of course, all the official communication's been going through it. So, and luckily for them, in Hunter's laptop at some point, he's talking with one of his business partners or something about how the Robert Peters is a pseudonym for Joe. So it's like, all right, so we've got confirmation from a second source that this is so. But so James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, who is the House Oversight Committee chairman, asked the National Archives to turn over unredacted records where Biden relied on the aliases when communicating with Hunter and his business partners, Eric Schwerin and Devin Archer. Let's see. This is, of course, and then it's talking about how, Devin Archer did finally testify on the Hill, and he he said that they were selling the illusion of access, just the illusion of access. It's the Biden brand. And that, Joe would just talk about the weather. He'd hop on a phone call here and there and just talk about the weather. There's the illusion of access. But that's also illegal. You can't do that. You can't fraudulently sell access to the vice president of the United States. Because then it's still that crime of selling access, but you're also defrauding people. And it's hard to say that it's not actually selling access when, your partner is Hunter Biden. And it's, they're like, oh, it's about building that Biden name, to get good business. It's like, right, through saying you're corrupt and that policy will be tweaked for you. And it's especially interesting when policy then gets tweaked for you. Like we talked about last time, it's like you got on the phone to talk about the weather, and then the next thing you know, the prosecutor's fired. It's like, oh, that's exactly what those guys wanted to have happen. You got on there and said, oh, it's sunny out, isn't it? That's great. And then all of a sudden, magically, they got what they wanted. But I guess it's fine. It's just fine. It's one of the big pseudonyms that's been in the news. The other is Oliver Anthony. Have you seen that guy yet? Mm. You haven't heard the Men North of Richmond? Oh, shit. Okay. I'll just do this kind of dirty through the phone here. I will click this thing as many times as I want because, oh, you know what? Actually, hit pause real quick. All right. Let's try this out. I'm always happy to play this dude's video because, pay per click, I'll hear it 1,000 times. All right, let's.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, north the rich men. I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere. Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, north the rich men. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
Yeah, so that is the first time that man sang into a microphone. He's got some other songs on YouTube, and it's just like him with that guitar inside. It looks like he's inside of a van or a truck or something, but he's just recording on his iPhone. So like literally everything that's been on iTunes, other than that one where a microphone was involved, is something he recorded on his iPhone. But he's just like this dude. He's literally, he doesn't play concerts. He's not a working musician. He's a industrial salesman who likes to play music. Sometimes he plays at a farmer's market in North Carolina, which I think is like the closest town. Like he's from Farmville, Virginia, which has a population of like 12,000 people or something like that. But yeah, so, you know, that guy blew up out of nowhere, like literally nowhere. He said that him and his buddy runs this thing called Radio West Virginia, and they just try to, you know, put videos of music in the Appalachian area. So the guy's like, oh, let's put it up. Maybe I don't know, maybe get like 300,000 views or whatever. I don't know. Is it still over? Can we see how many views he's got?
No, it's okay.
That's no big deal. But it was at like 20 million the other day. And so you know, on YouTube, it was like 20 million. On iTunes, still number one above like all the above Travis Scott and people like that, you know? So I hope he's making a mint. But you know,
27 million.
27 million. Yeah. So he's doing pretty good. I hope that Radio West Virginia cat, like I hope however much money comes in, whether they're getting a penny or a nickel a view, I hope that, I hope there's no weird falling out where that money isn't shared appropriately, because that would be, you know, obviously the account for Radio West Virginia is not Oliver Anthony's, so, you know, I'll have to go through, and I hope he doesn't make the poor decision to rip him off. But anyway, so that guy out of nowhere, and suddenly he's like the biggest damn thing, and he's been posting little things on like YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that, like little videos of just talking to the fans, you know. And he's like, look, guys, like, I'm not a great musician. I barely know my way around this guitar, but it's not. He's like, this is not a masterpiece. He's like, it's just, you know, people are relating to someone who's like feeling the actual emotions as the song is being sung, and they're relating to it. You know, the bad pay, working your butt off to not move ahead and all that kind of stuff. And so, of course, it can't just be a feel-good story about some dude out of nowhere that suddenly is hugely popular. Can't be that. So what it's got to be is there's something wrong with it. Especially because he said, you know, if you're 5'3", 300 pounds, taxes shouldn't pay for your fudge rounds, which is hilarious.
Right.
It's a great line. And care about miners and stuff, miners on islands. I mean, that's funny. Those are good lines. It just voices the frustration of everything you hear in the news, you know. But, you know. Unfortunately, to some, it's like Eric Levitz, feature writer for The Intelligencer, Oliver Anthony and the Incoherence of Right-Wing Populism. So, like, this guy got dragged into politics. He calls himself, he's like, I'm pretty middle of the road. I don't know. You know, I'm just a pretty middle of the road guy. But because he talked about the value of the dollar, taxes, and, you know, a nice little Epstein reference in there, he's getting lumped into, he's basically this right-wing guy with offensive lyrics, and people like Matt Walsh and Jack, I actually don't know how to pronounce it, Posobiec. What's his, do you know who? I see him, like, he's like, he's on Twitter a lot. Posobiec? He's a very popular.
Posobiec might be, yeah.
I know he's popular, and I know I see his name a lot. I've never said his name, clearly. I don't know that. I'm sure I've heard it. But I'm like, oh, okay, that's that guy. But, you know, because some right-wing, you know, some happily right-wing influencer media types were retweeting and stuff. Now suddenly it's like, well, now it's not about the song. It's not about this dude and this miraculous thing that happened. It's like, oh, well, this just shows stupid right-wing thought. It's like, you know, you think you're going to say something intelligent, but oh, you're just going to fat shame. Let's see. I think there's some.
I'm sure they're going to label him a terrorist at some point.
Probably.
Let's see. One of these things had some quotes. Here we go. I think it was this Yahoo one where they had. Yeah. So Richmond, North of Richmond, isn't some ode to the working class. It's a reactionary tune that perpetuates fat phobia and the classic welfare queen trope popularized by former President Ronald Reagan. It vaguely critiques the wealthy, yet directly / inaccurately blames the poor for milking the system. Richmond, North of Richmond, is an archetypal example of right-wing populist ideology. Let's see. So there's a vague gesture against elites keeping working people down, but the alleged mechanism by which they are keeping them down is giving their tax dollars to the, quote, undeserving poor people. So nothing says class consciousness like a song where the entire middle verse is about how the poor can't eat because of obese welfare recipients. And so, like, you know, people are just, they got to be offended. They, you know, like, what about that song had you clutching your pearls, Charlie?
I see nothing wrong with it. It was honest. It was the truth.
Yeah, I mean, it was how he was feeling, you know? It's how lots of people are feeling. And, like, you know, the Epstein thing happened, and it just kind of went away. Like, cases against normal people don't tend to just go away, especially if they're, like, mass raping minors and transporting them to international islands for rape and to allow others to rape them.
And welfare is designed to be abused.
I mean,
like, they haven't, we talk about how people abuse it, but it still isn't being changed so that it can't be abused. So trying to break his song apart that he's just, that he's, you know, blaming welfare abusers. No, I think he's just blaming the system.
Yeah, and it's like in some of these smaller towns, especially like Appalachian small towns, you know, there's like people who are working. There's people that are, yeah, trying to do honest work, get through. You know, a lot of them drive all over creation, and so you know, like you know, Rachel's family is Appalachian, Ohio, and so like her brother and her dad, you know, they drive 2 hours out of town to work, you know, for cranes and stuff, and so that's 2 hours one way, 2 hours back. I mean, it's a 4 hour round trip working, you know. But then you see the people that have been decimated by like the opiate crisis, you know, by the Sackler family, and then people, and also people who are just like good for nothing because of the welfare system, where they're like, screw it, multi-generational welfare, where you learn how to milk the system. Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, you know.
Press becomes the master.
Exactly. And so, like, but it is frustrating when you see, like, you're sitting there busting your butt driving a 4 hour round trip, and then you go to the grocery store to buy your food, and there's an obese woman on the little scooter who's buying a bunch of junk food, and then we're like, oh, use my food stamps. It's just like, you're gonna die. Like, look how fat you are, and like, you can't be this fat, and like, you're not, and I'm paying for you to be this fat. Like, how are you poor and this fat? You know, like it is frustrating for many people, I believe. But I could imagine when the community's so small, and I think that stuff sticks out a lot more, you know, because in a city, even city the size of ours, you know, which is not big, we're, I think, more of a town than a city, but with it, you know, there's a lot of people you just don't see, you know, you got your neighborhood, and there's just so many people. You're like, I don't have time. But, you know, you shave it down to a few tens of thousands or something. And when there's, I don't know, you know, if there's 1,000 people behaving a certain way, well, now, you know, that might be 10% of the population in Farmville, Virginia. And so then it seems everywhere, you know, because there's not a whole lot, you know, the denominator is not very big. So more that you add to that numerator, it's just like, oh, this is everywhere. This is life. This sucks, you know? But but so, you know, a lot of people have been lumping praise on the guy. And then, of course, a lot of people have been hating on him because he's just hateful.
He should make more music.
He should. Well, so he posted this thing 3 days ago. He goes, it's been difficult, and this is on his Facebook, Oliver Anthony Music. It's been difficult as I browse through the 50,000 plus messages and emails I've received in the last week. The stories that have been shared paint a brutally honest picture. Suicide, addiction, unemployment, anxiety and depression, hopelessness, and the list goes on. I'm sitting in such a weird place in my life right now. I never wanted to be a full-time musician, much less sit at the top of the iTunes chart. Draven from Radio, I assume it's West Virginia. It says WV with the V lowercase, but anyway, Radio WV, and I filmed these tunes on my land with the hope that it may hit 300,000 views. I still don't quite believe what has went on since we uploaded it. It's just strange to me. People in the music industry give me blank stares when I brush off $8 million offers. He's turned down $8 million. I don't want 6 tour buses, 15 tractor trailers, and a jet. I don't want to play stadium shows. I don't want to be in the spotlight. I wrote the music I wrote because I was suffering with mental health and depression. These songs have connected with millions of people on such a deep level because they're being sung by someone feeling the words in the very moment they were being sung. No editing, no agent, no bullshit. Just some idiot and his guitar. The style of music that we should have never gotten away from in the first place. So, that being said, I've never taken the time to tell you who I actually am. Here's a formal introduction. My name is Christopher Anthony Lunsford. My grandfather was Oliver Anthony, and Oliver Anthony Music was a dedication not only to him, but 1930s Appalachia, where he was born and raised. Dirt floors, 7 kids, hard times. At this point, I'll gladly go by Oliver because everyone knows me as such, but my friends and family still call me Chris. You can decide for yourself. Either is fine. 2010, I dropped out of high school at age 17. I have a GED from Spruce Pine, North Carolina. I worked multiple plant jobs in western North Carolina, my last being in the paper mill in McDowell County. I worked third shift 6 days a week for $14.50 an hour, living in a living hell. In 2013, I had a bad fall at work and fractured my skull. It forced me to move back to Virginia. Due to complications from the injury, it took me 6 months or so before I could work again. From 2014 until just a few days ago, I've worked outside sales in the industrial manufacturing world. My job has taken me all over Virginia and to the Carolinas, getting to know tens of thousands of other blue-collar workers on job sites and in factories. I've spent all day, every day, for the last 10 years hearing the same story. People are so damn tired of being neglected, divided, and manipulated. In 2019, I paid $97,500 for the property and still owe about $60,000 on it. I'm living in a 27-foot camper with a tarp on the roof that I got off Craigslist for $750. There's nothing special about me. I'm not a good musician. I'm not a very good person. I spent the last 5 years struggling with mental health and using alcohol to drown it. I'm sad to see the world and the state it's in, with everyone fighting with each other. I've spent many nights feeling hopeless, that the greatest country on earth is quickly fading away. That being said, I hate, all caps, the way the internet has divided all of us. The internet is a parasite that infects the minds of humans and has their way with them. Hours wasted, goals forgotten, loved ones sitting in houses with each other distracted all day by technology made by the hands of other poor souls in sweatshops in foreign land. Well, or when is enough enough? When are we going to fight for what is right again? Millions have died protecting the liberties we have. Freedom of speech is such a precious gift. Never in world history has the world had the freedom it currently does. Don't let them take it away from you. Just like those wandering the desert, we have lost our way from God and have let false idols distract us and divide us. That's a damn shame. You show a little picture of what I assume is his grandfather's, family. But, so that's the guy introducing himself because, of course, he got pseudo-doxed, I don't think he got for real doxed. I doubt he has too huge of a footprint. I mean, it's like he lives on this land in Farmville. It's like, you found him, but all that crap they're saying about him and just like painting him as a hateful right-winger and all that. And, but he's been doing these shows and like the first show he did, once again, at the farmer's market, after this blew up, first of all, Jamie Johnson showed up to it, the country singer, and hopped on stage, and that song, You Should Have Seen It in Color. So he sang that a little bit. They sang that together, which is cool. Like, he just kind of popped in. But he said that he hung out. He's like, people wanted to meet him. He's like, I shook hands with everybody. He's like, I don't mean glad handing. He's like, they told me about their problems, told me about, depression, their, work, just about anything. He's like, we just talked. And so he posted this video. He was driving out of town. He's like, okay. Everyone's asking about shows. I'm going to be, I think, back at that farmer's market. And he's like, don't make a special trip. Just, I'll play more shows. But if you're in that area, it'll be a good time. He's like, and, don't rush. If I got to stay till 2 a.m., I'll stay till 2 a.m. I want to talk to all of y'all. And so, like, he just seems like a real authentic person.
It's kind of a breath of fresh air. I don't know. To hear, to not only hear that from someone, and then he backs it up by continuing to be real, but at least the support side of it. Obviously, there's always going to be people just looking to be offended, upset, mad, whatever. But yeah, that's cool.
It is, and the fact that, like, my hope is, I don't know how much money people make on iTunes, but when you don't have an agent or a label, I assume you get all that money, but whatever the iTunes cut is. So being number one, having more plays than like Travis Scott is kind of a big deal. So I'm hoping he's getting like a fat check, and he just got it put up on like Spotify and all the different services, I hope, the tens of millions of views on YouTube. I hope he, is getting whatever. Hopefully more than penny. Hopefully he's getting close to a nickel. That'd be great.
I mean, I know streaming services.
Sometimes it depends. Like, I think, it changes. And they give special rates here and there. But anyway, even if he was getting just a penny, what was that, $250,000 right there? If he went halvesies with whole radio WV, $125,000 to pay off his land and give him a new trailer, and then, but the nice thing is, like, he's recorded all these on an iPhone, and like literally that video is the first time he used a microphone to record something. And so he could, like, pay to actually record an album in a studio, like pay it for himself, put it on iTunes, and make some dollars, and maybe without a label, maybe he can do just fine, just getting to be himself. And because that's the thing, I think it's great turning down, some rhinestone cowboy country kind of crap, turning down that deal where they want to market you, they want to change you and market you and push you out. I think it's good that he turned that down. But I hope this dude gets paid, So that's our other big pseudonym. His seems like a very nice pseudonym, an ode to his dad and to his granddad and to his roots. And then the other was Joe Biden obfuscating so that he can do corrupt things and collect money and not have to be part of Freedom of Information Act requests and other public things. So those are the big pseudonyms for the week.
Or opposites.
One might say they're fairly different. Yeah. I don't know. One's a corrupt, old, demented weirdo that's just been milking off the system this whole time. Like, how is Joe Biden worth so much money when he's only been making like whatever they got paid? Well, he's been there so long, it's changed a lot. But $150,000 a year, whatever. Let's just say, and it's just like, how are you worth this many millions? It's very interesting. And like, he doesn't have a Pelosi stockbroker account. I'm sure he's got something, but not Pelosi level or Dan Crenshaw, the eye patch guy.
Yeah.
I think last year he was like number 1 or 2 on his stock portfolio. So he got elected all small business, small taxes, small government stuff. I'm just a Navy SEAL working hard and just like you. It's just common sense. Just common sense. And he's just like, well, gotta make that cheddar. Which if I would have won my election, which I was really close, third place, um, what I was going to do is like definitely do that too. But I was going to tweet every single time I traded anything. Not say I don't think I could say I'm doing it because of this, that, or the other, because I think that'd be illegal. But if I was just like, okay, I'll just, every time I buy or sell a stock, I'll just tweet it out. And if you want to copy me, copy me.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to, don't do it. But it's just like, I buy 10 shares of Plug Power. People will go, well, that doesn't seem like much. It's like, if I buy 10,000 shares of General Dynamics, it's just like, I think we're about to go to war, It's like, let's buy those shares. Anyway, but of course, the other big story that's been going on continues to go on, much like your shirt there, Charlie. Your Hawaii shirt is Maui. I did not have much info. We kind of briefly talked about it last week, but it sure seems like a lot of government failure in this one. It appears. And, it's hard to say because everything's stayed so buttoned up, which some of it seems legitimate. Like National Guard's not letting people go see their homes, or their lack thereof to look through it. People are getting pissed because they had a limited number of like passes, They're like, no more, sorry. And then they're just like, sorry, we're done with passes. No one go. And of course, people are like, it's my house. I want to see my house or my property. I want to do. But I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why. Where they say like, look, it's not just houses that are burnt down. There's gas stations and stuff. There's some toxic areas. We're also using cadaver dogs trying to find these people because there's thousands missing still. And they have to use cadaver dogs because everything's just burnt so bad that like, you look at like a human eye can't tell the difference between a burnt up skeleton and a burnt up house. It's just it's all burnt to that level. So I get like, hey, we're trying to like find thousands of people in rubble right now. Like we need some patience here. So I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt on that kind of stuff. But the way this thing went down, it appears as though it was probably strong winds that knocked down a power line that then sparked a fire, and then the winds turned it into a blowtorch, basically. And that's like boats were on fire in the water, and it's because it was going poof and just blasting out. There is a professor at University of Hawaii who's been warning about the potential for wildfire for a while. He wrote a report on it and everything. Apparently, I imagine it's because, volcanic island and all that, but a lot of the natural grasses and like plants on Hawaii have a bit of fire resistance to them naturally. I guess some trees, not just in Hawaii, but some trees, I think the sequoia or something like that, has like sap that makes it like a fire retardant. And but people have been moving to Hawaii, or people that have been living in Hawaii have been importing other grasses because, like, certain parts of the island are lush, certain parts of the islands are
Like,
yeah. And so people want stuff that'll grow. They want to look good. They want this. So they've been bringing in all these non-native grasses, non-native plants for their landscaping. And this guy's just like, look, if their fire catches, it's going to spread fast. And like, this is not good. And so he had a whole paper on it about like, we're in wildfire danger. Of course, no one did anything about it. But what the government did do, the Hawaii government, is they said by, I forget which year, but within 5 years, we want to have all
just went off.
Oh,
Now you're back.
I'm back.
And I'm back.
Oh, good. Welcome back to me. But they said they wanted all green energy, basically all renewable energy, within 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. So the Hawaii Power Company out there, they had a report about some improvements they needed to make, line quality, cleaning up areas below lines because they were potential fire hazards. But they didn't address any of them. And part of it is because suddenly they had to focus like all their time and resources on coming up with all renewable energy, changing how they generate power. So they spent like 190 million trying to change the way that power is generated for this law that mandated it be so. So government said, this power is not going to be legal soon. You got to come up with a new plan. Of course, your power company, you go, we do need to come up with a new plan. And then it's like, hey, what about this report about, am I gone again? Go. What are you doing? You're killing me. All right, I'm back. I wonder if I need to get new. I mean, these are fairly new cables. I don't know. But yeah, so the government was just like, hey, your power you offer is going to be illegal. And so they looked at it and they're like, okay, there's some brush below our power lines. That's a potential fire, whatever. And so they basically just didn't get addressed. And then of course, the siren didn't go off for the island, and people said, what's the deal there? So the chief of police of Maui was in charge. He was in charge of the security at the Strip, the Las Vegas Strip, when that shooter was there at the Strip. So like that was kind of his area when the shooter took out all those people. So then like he left and did training with the Department of Justice or something, and then ended up getting this job in Maui. And so it's like, okay. And he said, well, that experience helps me, which I guess it does. And but whoever was in charge of actually sounding the siren said that recently, he said that his thought process was that if he sounds the alarm, the normal reaction people have is to go up the mountain. And he said, of course, that would be certain death. So he weighed it and he didn't do it. And of course, giant mistake. So either if that's true, that sucks. Poor guy, had good intentions, that went horribly wrong. And that's going to be difficult to deal with. If it's not true and he's just making up excuses after the fact, then it's like, where the hell were you? 'Cause people are dead. And like one of the other flaws is they only had one evacuation route, like for that whole area, one road, and so like that's why everybody ended up like jumping in the water. It's because like they didn't have access to that road, that one way out. So it's just like going in the water, And apparently tourists were still showing up to like peek at the destruction, swim around. Locals are just like, we just jumped from our burning houses into this water, and now you're snorkeling. Like, go home.
I heard excuses of, we've been planning this for a year. It's like, okay, just postpone it for another year. Why would you want to go? Unless you're helping. Like, why would you want to go?
And look, you go. Okay. You go to Maui. Say that was where your tickets are. You're on the other side of the island from the area that burnt. Don't go gawk at the part that just burnt down. Like, spend money there with the locals. Help. Donate money to help. Whatever you can do, you're there to like help. And, yeah, it's expensive to get there. I get it. Family vacation, planned it for 5 years. It's different side of the island. You're going to be in your little resort. Okay. Don't swim to the other side of the island. Don't go gawking, Like,
and companies are giving 100% refunds. Oh, like they're refunding people who are choosing not to go. They had plans, they can't go because of all this. Oh, we'll give you 100%, or you can reschedule it with us, no problem. But they're still getting mad that they can't go.
Yeah, I mean, I got mad when we couldn't do stuff because of COVID, but wildfire, a little different. The other thing about it is, when they shut off the power because of down power lines, well, that shuts off the water pumps. But beyond just that, let me pull this up here. It's from the New York Post. Hawaii official concerned with equity delayed releasing water for more than 5 hours as wildfires raged. Access to water should be predicated on conversations about equity, according to the Hawaii official under fire for delaying access to water during the fires. M. Kaleo Manuel, former deputy director of the Hawaii Commission on Water Resource Management, waited for more than 5 hours to release water during the fires that devastated Maui. In a live stream debate hosted by the University of Hawaii last year, Manuel described water as a sacred god. Let water connect us and not divide us, said Manuel, referring to water distribution on the island. We can share it, but it requires true conversation about equity. How do we coexist with the resources we have? A former Obama Foundation leader, part of a program by the former president's nonprofit to help participants with coaching and practical skill building for social change, said he considered water an important tool for social justice. And so, like, let's see. The West Maui Land Company said in an August 10th letter to Manuel, I assume it's Manuel, that his commission refused its request to divert streams to fill landowners' reservoirs in the hard-hit Lahaina area until the wildfires raged out of control. So I guess people were saying, like, hey, can we please get some water down here and fill our reservoirs? And they're just like, no. Sources told Honolulu Civil Beat that Manuel had asked the company to consult with a local farmer about the impact of water diversion before approving their request. We watched the devastation around us without the ability to help, said the company in the letter. We anxiously awaited the morning, knowing that we could have made more water available to the fire department if our request had been immediately approved. So, like, this dude who's concerned about water equity, about how you get the water to everybody and equal and everybody's peace and love and happy. He was like, I don't know if that water needs to be released yet. Like, think about the farmers. What if the farmers need something? It's like, think about the city that's on fire, or the town or whatever.
Fire department.
Yeah, think about the fire department. Like, they need the water. Like, the farmer spends 5 hours of a little bit of a drought, he'll be okay. Like, the plants will be okay. Like, maybe some of them might start to go, oh, like the sun's coming out. But odds are the ground has held some of the water for this farmer, because odds are this farmer has been taking care of the plants. It's not just been in a drought scenario for for a year or something, Like, it'll be fine. It's not permanent. Divert water to put out the damn fires. And so it seems like this was very, very avoidable. And that sucks, And, but, Biden came to the rescue because he cares. He, while Maui burned, he was on the beach, I think in Delaware. I think that's where he went to the beach, but he was sitting there. And I don't know why I don't know why he keeps having topless pictures. Like, I know you're in the beach, take your shirt off and all that. But, like, I don't know. It seems weird. Like, I don't think we've seen lots of Biden with a shirt off. And, like, in the last year, he's just like, I go to the beach. Look at me. It's like, I don't need privacy. Check out my old man bod. But he was on the beach, enjoying himself. Someone asked him, Mr. President, do you have anything to say about, what's going on in Maui right now? Guess what he said? No comment. No comment. No comment.
Why?
Yeah, no comment.
Did he not know?
I think he didn't know. I think, well, he might have been aware it was going on, but I don't think he'd been handed his book of what to say. Stand up. Greet the press. Hello, everybody. Ask John Smith to ask you a question. It will be about this. Oh, good. John, why don't you take it? But no, I think he hadn't been informed of what to say and what to think yet. Is my feeling on it. But he did send all that money, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Why don't you cover that?
Well, so I'm assuming this is accurate, but $700 per family?
Family or per person?
Per family?
Oh, even if it was per person.
Maybe it was per person.
Even if it was, it's like, okay.
Garbage.
I mean, thanks.
Even on the mainland, that's garbage. Hawaii, everything's exorbitantly more expensive.
Yeah, and it's like these are people who lost all of their possessions and their home and their food. Like they've lost everything, and like, what? I mean, look, it's better than nothing. Where they can spend that money?
Right.
You know, the grocery store burnt down. You know, the gas station burned down. You know, but it's like they've sent, and so like, what was the package they sent? Like, I think they ended up saying like something ridiculous, like $1.25 million or something like that.
It? Oh, total?
Yeah, like from the federal government. Let me look this up. It was something ridiculous. Let's see. What was it? Financial aid. And of course, as they're sending $700 to Joe Hawaii and $1 million for the state, Ukraine though, some more billions there. Let's see. And Joe Biden aid to Hawaii versus Ukraine. Oh, this will be fun. This Newsweek says Joe Biden's aid versus Ukraine aid compared. What we know. All right. Some Republicans and conservative commentators questioned President Joe Biden's priorities after the government announced a further $200 million of security assistance for Kyiv as it battles Russia's invasion on the same day that people affected by the fires in Hawaii were offered $700 a household. Yep, a household. That's horrible. That's not the totality of federal aid. However, although some Congress grant, okay, the aid sent to Ukraine, blah, 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 whatever. Is a different sort. The bulk is defense weaponry and equipment. Yeah, Congress granted $113 billion in aid and military assistance to Ukraine between the invasion, February 22, and the end of last year. About $67 billion was for defense. 46 was non-defense. $46 billion. The Department of Defense said it had provided $12 billion in security assistance since the start of 2023. And announced the latest $200 million package, including Patriot air defense systems and HIMARS munitions. On the same day, the president announced the one-off payment for survivors of Maui. I guess maybe the math. Oh, that's probably 53,919 households. That's, here it is. On August 11th, Pacific Disaster Center research conducted on behalf of blah, 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 suggested that 2,207 structures had been damaged or destroyed by fire in the resort town of Lahaina alone. Or Lahaina, do you know how it's pronounced?
I think Lahaina.
Lahaina, okay. Suggesting a disbursement for its residents of around $1.5 million. So, $1.5 million. There's a $1.5 million in support. And like, you know, I think private donations go further. I think the federal ones always get corrupted and wasted and all that kind of stuff. But if you're just printing money out of thin air and sending it to Ukraine, sending it all over, I mean, we're spending $3 trillion over what we bring in taxes. And it's like, for that, for what? For chairs at a concert hall and for bridges and monorails and crap. And it's just like, hey, people got cooked alive and lost their everything. We're like, well, money's tight, you know, money's tight. 1 million. It's like, well, we spend like $1.5 million researching like turtles on cocaine, you know? It's like, let's see how they act. Maybe they'll go fast. I don't know. It's like, I got a grant for it. So it is fairly ridiculous, like to see that number. I mean, there's a radio guy, Glenn Beck, who's on the radio. You know, he's got a charity, and I think I saw that he raised in a week something like, I don't know, 750,000 or something like that. And his charity had already gotten on the ground in Hawaii, like within days, and passing out food, water, stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, so like almost immediately, this dude who has like a charity arm, just cause, sends his charity arm to Hawaii. They're passing out food, they're passing out water, they're passing all this stuff, you know, raising 750 grand in a couple days or whatever. And it's like, well, that's that's good. That's really good, you know? It's like, and our government did just slightly over that in money, and God knows what's happening with that, you know.
Yeah. It'll be delayed like crazy.
It'll be delayed, or it'll be one of those things like, which storm was it? Where like days later, weeks later, something like that, they saw that there was just like at the airport or somewhere, there was just this mountain of bottled water, and it was just like not distributed, just sitting there. And I think technically had spoiled, you know, because the plastic breaks down, all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, wait, so FEMA sent all this water that just kind of sat there, and you didn't even hand it to people, like people who needed water, like it was there the whole time. And it's like, yeah, but you know, people were busy. It's just, you know, you get busy sometimes.
Donald Trump with Puerto Rico, he was throwing out paper towels to people personally. Did he? Yeah, he was shooting it out to people. It's just a great piece of media.
You know, for all Trump's faults, he is hilarious, like all the time. You know, I don't know how all this election stuff's gonna go. I'm hoping Joe Biden doesn't win. Whoever does win, you know, we'll take that however we take that. But you know, if it is Trump, it'll probably be funny. You know, at least we'll be laughing on the way down. But really, my dream scenario, what would make me so happy, is if he really did just like unleash hell on, you know, the deep state, but really just on this state, because you know all the 3-letter agencies that's gone after him, like the Department of Justice, you know, the FBI, I don't know, IRS. You know, there's a few that have been not too friendly. So it's just like, man, gut them. Just gut State Department, you know, gut them. Get rid of all these chumps. I don't know they will. Old Vivek Ramaswamy says, you know, if he was president, he would. He's like, they work for me. I'm the executive, and hiring, firing all these positions is literally my job, and no one else's job. So I can fire them. And so my one thought is like, because Ramaswamy has not said any negative things about Trump, you know, and he's just a businessman. So, yeah, Trump, Ramaswamy versus Biden, Harris, it might be something where it's just like, okay, because, you know, Trump likes to delegate and watch Fox and Friends and eat McDonald's and stuff like that. And like, ask him questions, he'll tell you something to do, but I don't think he really likes to get into the meat, you know, like they had to. All these intelligence briefings, they're like, we had to like knock it down to 2 pages. Like, just read it to me. Just tell me what it is. And, you know, it's like, I don't want to read a big report. Just tell me. And, which, you know, I don't really blame them on that. Just tell me, is there a problem? What's the problem? You know? But, you know, maybe old Vivek will be put in charge of slicing and dicing, and maybe we actually might slash the government all to hell. I don't know. That would be good, but of course he promised to drain the swamp the first time, and he drained 0 swamp, and he employed all swamp creatures and kept them all, even as they were leaking all the information and like literally undermining his presidency. He didn't go, man, let's drain this swamp. He just sat there in the swamp with the swampies. So I don't know. I mean, it can't be worse than Biden. I mean, unless it was Woodrow Wilson coming back, or you know, maybe Chris Christie would be worse. I don't know. It's hard to say. He'd be busy eating, I think, because he's fat. That's what I was saying. Yeah, just in case you didn't pick that up. He's round, large man, healthy appetite.
Healthy appetite.
Well, slightly unhealthy. All right, man. Well, I think that'll wrap us up for this here week. We actually knocked 2 in a row. We've got our fancies that we're working on. We're going to keep getting a little fancier. And it's going to be fly, super fly. Yeah. What you got for us?
Support Hawaii. It's a beautiful state.
That's true. Yeah. Find a nonprofit to send money to. I mean, I don't think you can send it to the government. Who would? But yeah. Mercury? No, is that the radio company? I'm trying to remember what Beck's charity thing is called. Mercury One? because they're already there. But I bet you Red Cross is always a good one, I'm sure. Anyway, yeah, donate, help. Like, that's good. Anyway, till then, bye-bye.